So I thought I'd do something a little bit different today and share this amazing interview that I did with a really good friend of mine, Alyssa Gordon. And she thrives in helping product-based businesses capture their moment and dominate their web space with beauty and intentionality. I just love what she does. And so in this interview, she's going to go into how you can take gorgeous photos for your products all on your own and find the inspiration to actually make them look interesting and different every time. I am an e-commerce sales coach helping hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you sell now and sell out using the Viralocity formula. So if you want the best advice on Viralocity marketing to grow your own e-commerce business, then hit subscribe and turn that bell on to be notified every time I post a new video on Thursdays. And today I'm going to be bringing you an interview I did with a pro photographer, Alyssa Gordon. So with that said, I will see you on the other side. So I'm so excited about this one because I have such a really good friend here joining us today, and she's going to talk to us about quick and simple photography. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you through probably as much as possible, as much as time permits, because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to try to go through the end-to-end process that Alyssa goes through herself as a photographer. So let me introduce her really quickly. This is Alyssa Gordon, who is the owner and creative director at Alyssa Joy & Co. And she helps product-based businesses capture their moment and dominate their web space with beauty and intentionality. I love that. Hey, Alyssa. So good to have you on here. Okay, I'm curious, Alyssa, what actually got you into photography? Can you give us a little bit of quick background as to how you got started in photography?
I was like, I need to get a camera so I can take pictures of my kid so that I have them so she knows she existed as a child. And so I got a little Canon Rebel and was like, oh, I'll just, take pictures of my kid. And so it just kind of developed into something I found I enjoyed and liked. So I started out kind of in the portrait realm of things. And my actual business/work background was in graphic design. So I worked with, a lot of I started out kind of in the wedding industry, working with wedding planners and photographers on their website and graphics. But then I started working with a lot of product-based businesses. And so I found the largest issue was they would come to me and be like, oh, I want to launch, this product business, or I need to rebrand my product business. And they'd be like, can you make a brand that I love? And I'm like, oh, I can certainly make the branding that you love. I can make a website that you love. But at the base of all that is your photography of your products and your photography of your brand and all that. And so often I would find they'd be like, oh, yeah, I have some photos that I took myself or that, whatever, from a while ago. And so I was like, all right, obviously there's a gap here. I wanted to be able to create a beautiful end product for them, but we are missing an integral piece for that. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to learn product photography. And it just kind of morphed. And now I work in history with those product businesses. So
yeah. Awesome. And let me tell you about the moment I realized just how important photography was, because I love that, and I have to say, because I've launched, my own product-based businesses, e-commerce businesses, all of that. And you are absolutely right that product photography is almost like the linchpin of anything that you do, whether it's branding related, look and feel related, everything from social media to website. The photography itself is really the cornerstone of almost everything. And I have a little bit of a different story, but in my first business, it's a dessert bar. So we used to create desserts, and it's called the Chockpot. And it was at that time, it was almost 8 years ago, and it was at that time when Instagram was kind of just taking off. In our minds, when we first started, we were like, we didn't even think about how good product had to look or anything like that. And then now it's all about, and then very quickly, probably 9 to 12 months in, our whole aim was to be creating desserts that were what we called Instagram worthy. They had to be Instagram worthy. They had to be, they had to be very photogenic and things, because that was what people actually cared about. And so that was my first foray into realizing just how important the actual photography is, yes, but also how to from a product perspective, especially if you're creating it, how to actually make it look as I said, like photogenic. That's what people want, right? So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my story with photography. So okay, so let's start from the very beginning around actually getting inspo for your photography, because I find this is one of the things that I struggle with, is kind of like there's only so many ways that or so many angles sometimes that you can take of a particular product. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on where do you find source, what tips do you have for our community around the inspiration for thinking about different, scenes, different angles, all of those things for their product photography?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm always a fan of Pinterest and Google, just because they always have all the images. So I always go there, but I also tell people, like, just walk around, like, the spaces that you have available, because the spaces on Pinterest, I mean, I don't know how many times I've posted, like, on my Facebook feed or Instagram feed, like, hey guys, I'm looking for like kitchens that look like this. And I post this picture of, like, this beautiful white light filled kitchen, and everyone's like, I wish I had that. So Pinterest is great, but sometimes Pinterest is not everybody's reality or a feasible reality. And so, like, look around where you are. My husband jokes that if I had the option, I would paint my entire house white, which he will not allow. But you can make do with tiny little white spaces. They don't have to be huge. So, looking around at what you have, but again, hopping on Pinterest, Google Images, and just, like, I generally type in, like, the type of product, and maybe throw, like, product photography then, or photography, or photo of such and such. And you'd be shocked, what comes up, and get those creative juices flowing. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to recreate that same exact photo, and you don't want to anyways. You want something unique that's for your business. But it allows you to think outside of, the box and the norm of where you might, think, like, okay, so I'm shooting a piece of jewelry. I can shoot it, on my nightstand or on a jewelry dish, but maybe you're scrolling along and you see someone took, like, a cute little drawer pull and put it on a wall and hung the necklace off of it, or something like that. Just something a little bit different that gives it a variety. And don't forget that you can put paper on the wall to make it change the color of it, or, like, they actually have these paint samples now that I've seen. I haven't bought any myself, but they're literally like a 12 by 12 square, and so it's like a giant sticker. So you could make a 12, like, think of all the color possibilities you could have to change up and put that on your picture. So yeah, follow the light wherever the light is. That's always a good spot to find. So despite some spots maybe being cute, you need the light too. But Pinterest, and walk around where you are, see, the spaces that you have. We were talking the other day about driving around and noticing, like, the spaces that you're going by, or looking around at the surroundings, and I'm like, oh, there's a pretty tree or a pretty field with lots of grass. I could use that, and just eyes and pay attention.
What I really loved, a moment in that conversation we had, was when we were talking about, I think so often we kind of look at a space and we try to look at all of it. And I think that's totally human nature, right? Like, we'll come into a room and we'll look at the whole room rather than a very specific spot, corner, whatever it is. Really, all that you need that will fill up the frame on your camera. And so can you talk us through, like, and I'm sure you have some wacky examples of, like, where, the whole space might be like, it might look like complete disarray, but there's this, like, one magical spot, and then that's all you need. You just need to get that. Yeah. Can you talk us through that and any examples that you found?
Yeah. But yes, you think oftentimes, even, for example, I have, like, a hatred for all things orange. It just bugs me. And I have natural hardwood floors, which to me look orange. I love them because I wouldn't want not hardwood, but anyways, and all of our doors are like a natural wood color. So I shoot in my bedroom often, which is all white, except for I have ugly carpet and I have solid wood, like orangey wood doors on my closets, which span an entire wall. So if you were to walk in that room and see the initial wall or the mess that's found there 95% of the time, you would probably be like, yeah, not a good place to shoot. But it's actually an excellent place to shoot when I put a white comforter over my normal comforter, because white is not practical for real life people, over my regular comforter to make it all white. So my furniture is white and the bedspread is white. And it makes a huge difference. There's one wall that I have access to 2 windows, the light coming in, and it just lands perfect. But I'm only using a small section of my bed and like my bedside table. I've literally like swapped out different bedside tables, moved my own, put another in, you know, in that tiny little, you know, you're talking like a 4 foot by 4 foot space, you know, really in the end.
Yeah.
Or I create a lot of spaces. So, I actually got this idea from another photographer who I can't remember their name. Sorry, photographer, if you watch this. But I'm making like a fake shower scene by taking like a tile backdrop. And then I actually went to Home Depot today and got a glass piece of like replacement glass for like window replacement that I'm going to prop up to look like a shelf in a closet, or sorry, shelf in a shower. And then I have another piece of glass that I'm going to spray with water so that it looks like it's like in the shower, and it'll look like a shower scene. And it will be like this tiny little space that you create. So you can do a lot. You just got to use your imagination and have lots of light.
And I do know, actually, Bona was laughing about it because she watched our interview at the in the summit, and she was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to get a bucket thing as well to start creating bathroom, like bathtub."
Yes, yeah. I love it.
Talk us through that, because I love that as an example.
Yeah, so I wish that I had like a giant soaker clawfoot tub. Who doesn't? I don't. I don't even have a bathtub, period, actually. I only have a shower. So I had a like old, I'm not sure, like I think it's considered enamel maybe, like tub that they, like it's like a wash tub, like the poor women before, you know, our modern technology, and they wash their clothes a little bit. I had one of those actually from years ago from taking portraits of like 1-year-olds after a cake smash. So if you Google like 1-year-old cake smash, you'll probably see the thing I'm talking about. But so I had this bin or metal, whatever, bucket. And so I spray painted it white, and it's probably about, I don't know, 2 feet long and like 1.5 feet wide. And I use it to make a bathtub. I fill it with water. Sometimes I use food coloring in the water if I want the water slightly like more green or blue or whatever, I'll stick some in there.
Yeah.
And I have a bath caddy. I have several different bath caddies. Put the bath caddies on top, throw some flowers down in there. And as long as you're shooting from the right perspective, obviously I don't ever get the whole, you know, it's not like I'm going above the whole bowl. But from the right perspective, nobody would ever know. And if you look on my Instagram feed, you can find some of the ones. Any of the bathtub ones, unless you can see, we rented a studio one time that had a full, beautiful bathtub.
Yeah.
But
I think I did DM you, and I was like, "Is this the bathtub that you're talking about? Because this looks like a proper bathtub."
You're right. Yeah, no, that one was proper. The close-up shots.
Yeah, and I love talking about these examples because, guys, I think more and more we have to realize that these little hacks, like it's not about, you know, having the perfect all-encompassing room, or, you know, it is just about how do you actually bring to life that specific thing that you're trying to do. And almost like if you think about how do you miniaturize the thing that, you know, that's actually, you know, because at the bathtub, the shower example, those are such great examples. So guys, I hope you're getting a lot of inspiration, because this stuff is gold. Okay, so I now want to talk about styling. Because I know that, and I know I struggle with this myself, but any tips that you have for people who may not be the most creative, let's say, at styling their photos?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is don't overthink it. If it's getting complicated, you're probably way overthinking it. It can't hurt to try it. I always think less is more, in my personal opinion. I love my 9-year-old, and it's really funny to watch her style her photos, because she does. She'll grab my backdrops and different stuff. And there's always about 15 props in the like 2-foot space. And I'm like, because she's 9, I'm just going to let her do it. But I'm not going to let you do that. Too much stuff. Take some of it out. First off, here's like a good tip. The rule of odds is a thing. So a lot of times when I'm styling, I make sure, for example, if I have like matches sitting out next to a candle, I wouldn't put 1, probably just because it would look odd, but I wouldn't put 2. I would put 3, 5, 7. I don't know why, but odd numbers just always look better. That's just how it goes. Same thing with, if you had, I don't generally shoot like a scene with 2 candles. It would either be 1 or 3 or 5. It just gives you like an off balance that's good. But yeah, really just like trying it. Don't overdo it by putting too many things in, and just trying. I remember I had another photographer who came and like shadowed me one day, and she's like, how do you like style? Like your ribbons always look so pretty. And I'm like, really? I pick up the ribbon and I drop it. And I may adjust, you know what I mean? Then I like go to the angle that I'm shooting from, and okay, so part of the product's blocked. Like, let me move that tiny little piece a little bit, or whatever. But if you overanalyze it, it's just gonna go downward. So just embrace it. Take a picture, look at it, and see what looks right or doesn't look right. Make some small adjustments. Maybe pick the ribbon back up and drop it again and see what happens. Yeah. And how it looks. So don't overdo it with a lot, and don't overanalyze it. You just gotta go with the flow.
There you go, guys. You heard it here first. And that's some super, super cool and practical tips. I think that's why I really love talking to you, Alyssa, because it's it's things that we probably can do. Just hey, drop a ribbon, just see where it lands. And let's I think we can all do that. So that's awesome. Okay, now let's talk about lighting, because we did have a question about this, and lighting is find a way. Every photographer that I speak to, they're like, lighting. This is the key to photography. So can you please share with us sort of your, I guess, philosophy towards lighting, and then how do you find it? How do you maybe create it if we're not as fortunate as you with really nice windows in your bedroom? Like, is there, what tips can you share with us there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm exclusively a natural light photographer, which would probably be some photographer's nightmare. My nightmare would be no natural light. So it just depends what you prefer. Or obviously, like, some photographers still have full-time jobs, and so they're like shooting at night, which means obviously they can't use natural light. Or maybe you have a full-time job and you're running your product-based businesses and you only have nighttime to shoot. If you're like starting out, just you yourself, you're like trying to take photos for your business, I would recommend getting like a small, I always get confused if it's light box or soft box, because I really don't use them very much. I think it's light box. But
basically
yes, like your square. I mean, they make square, rectangle, round, but basically it's like an umbrella, but there's a white covering over the umbrella, and it's, sometimes there's 1 light, sometimes there's 5 lights, within there.
Yeah.
And there's all different options. Like, some are just flip a switch and they come on and they're 1 level. Some of them have a dial and you can get brighter or less bright. I would advise like the brighter or less bright one if you're thinking about it. I can try and send you a link for the one that I had like years ago. I got rid of it because I just didn't use it enough.
Yeah.
I personally prefer finding a window. All of us have windows in our houses. If you don't, I'm sorry. Maybe you should get a new house. But most of us have windows. So if you have a window, you probably have enough light. Obviously, again, if you're shooting like a giant subject, like we joked about, like, oh, my product's a bed, like, okay, one window may not cut it, you may not be able to move it, but if we're talking a small movable object product, you can always set up next to a window. So I have a picture window in the front of my house that kind of has like a shelf ledge type of area in front of it, and I shoot there very often. I basically have some white tabletops from IKEA, which you can get for like $7 or $8, I think. And I lay them down wherever I want to shoot. So whether I have a breezeway that has a lot of windows as well. So I'm laying that by a window somewhere. And you want your window, and then opposite the window, I use poster board, I use like foam core board that's white. And I've taped like 2 pieces together so that I can kind of like make a corner with it. So if my window was right here, then I would, and my product's right here, I'm basically giving it full, 3 sides of light, because what's happening is light's coming in the window, it's bouncing off those white panels and bouncing back on your product.
Yeah.
And you'll see, you should experiment sometime and shoot it without the foam board and then shoot it with the foam board, and you'll see a drastic difference in the amount of shadows and just the amount of light that's on the product in general. Yeah. So that's a great thing if you're find a window, set your setup, and basically you want to bounce that light, back on your product. So whether it's one, I used one foam board for years, or you can make a folding one. And then, like I said, light box, soft box, light box. Maybe Google the both. That's terrible. And they're definitely same kind of thing. You're going to use that like your window light, and then you're still going to use some form of reflector, which you can buy a reflector as well, but you can also get poster board for 99 cents at the store.
Yeah. So guys, go down the hack path. That's the best. So we had a question from Layla. What camera do you use?
So I have a Canon 5D Mark III, but I started out using a Canon Rebel, which is like, like the soccer moms have those take pictures of their kids at soccer. So you can start there. And then I will say the difference between that and my own is mine is full frame, which means just I can capture more, span than with a regular. And I also used to have the Canon 6D as well.
Yeah, and what are probably the top, 1, 2, or 3 features that you would recommend for anyone starting out from a camera perspective?
Yeah. So number 1, you want a DSLR, because those are the ones that you can shoot eventually in manual mode. I started out when I first started just in portraits shooting. They have, it depends on the camera, but aperture priority mode, which is basically deciding how much like bokeh there is, which is like the blur that's beyond your focus. And so you can set that to what you want, and then the camera automatically like adjusts the other things to make for the optimal exposure and all that stuff, supposedly. So it's kind of like manual mode, and you have the editing. The reason that I use those is because you can't say you had like, I know you think you can edit your iPhone pictures, but you really can't. This is a disappointing secret, but they're not really editable like a real camera's photo is editable. So those starter cameras, you're not necessarily shooting, anything that's not DSLR, you're generally not shooting in a format where you can truly technically edit without like distorting some portion of the photo as well. But I think the biggest thing is the lenses. So like when I first started out, I had the Canon Rebel, and I bought what they call, if you Google the Nifty 50 lens, it's like a 50 millimeter lens for like $150 or something, but it will like up your game drastically. Just because most, when you buy any type of DSLR camera now, there's generally a zoom lens on it, which the zoom lenses are fine, but the aperture doesn't go as low, which means like you can't get that dramatic, like the background's blurred and what I'm focusing on is in sharper, the thing sharper in focus. And so with that Nifty 50, you can do a lot more in that regard. So it just makes and it's just a better quality lens than the starter lens, but it costs you a whole lot less than the lenses that.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. If you're wanting to get a camera, get started. The DSLR and Nifty
50. I'm sure they probably have an equivalent to the Nifty 50 for other brands other than Canon. I just only shoot. Yeah.
Awesome. And so I really want to quickly talk about now we have our photography, or we're thinking about our photography, and we want to actually use it because the actual photos itself is one thing, but then we have to actually use the thing. And I talk a lot about, we want to be evoking emotion on our feeds because we literally have 3 seconds for a customer or for someone in your audience to figure out if you're for them or not, whether that's actually, your social media feed or whether that's even your website. That's kind of all you have. So let's have a chat through, because I know we're aligned on this about, you wanting to evoke emotion. Yeah. Can you talk us through your thoughts on how these emotions can actually be evoked for product-based businesses? Because I think a lot of times we fall into the trap of all we do is post about a product. That's it. What are your thoughts behind this, and what advice would you give for people who are like stuck in this product, like that's all I know, what to take photos of and what to post? Like, what would your advice be around this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell my clients all the time, like one of the first things we do before we work on their shoot is like nailing down I call it what lifestyle they're trying to portray to their potential clients. Yeah. Because 95% of people, the reason they buy a product is because they're buying into how it can help them achieve a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
Whether that's like the eco-friendly person who's trying to, lower their carbon footprint or whatever. Or like me, I'm a sucker for the white, pretty houses. Will that make my house look like that? Whatever the case may be.
Those salt and pepper shakers can definitely make it look like that.
So, huge. So first, before you go getting inspired, before you go shooting, before you go prop shopping, like determine what that is, because it's so easy. We all find it so easy to look at the person next to us and be like, well, they're doing XYZ, so that's going to work for me, or that fits me, or, whatever, because it's working for them. And I can use the example for myself of photography. Like, it was funny, you mentioned before, like, getting miniaturizing everything. Well, one of the styles out there for photography is, and I think they're super cool. I saw this photographer lately who shot like I think it was like a melatonin gummy of some sort or something, or some type of sleep, vitamin.
Yeah.
And they literally took like a little toy bed and like toy bedroom set, and they had it set up looking like the vitamin bottle was like going to bed and like waking up in the morning, whatever. And it was awesome. Yeah. And I am easily like, could do that. That looks so cute. That's so fun. And then I'm like, no, Alyssa, that's not your thing. Stop trying to be something you're not. Embrace like what you are and who you're trying to reach and the clients that you enjoy working with. I could steal my daughter's toys and possibly produce some of those things, but that's not what I love. I love producing pretty lifestyle type images. So determine that before you go looking. And now I feel like I've totally rabbit trailed from your question.
What advice would you give for people who to think outside of maybe just photos for their feeds?
Yes. So the buying into a lifestyle is huge. So obviously this, I feel like even people who we mentioned specifically in this last time we chatted about this, sometimes people have one product. Okay, let's be honest. If you're posting once a day on Instagram, nobody wants to see your product in 30 different product photos that are just straight up product photo, or even like that gummy, the gummy, you can only go to bed so many times and wake up in the morning. And that's
and I think the important thing too is like, wouldn't you as a business owner, wouldn't you get bored of that yourself? Like just taking the same shots pretty much over and over again. Yeah. So
yeah,
totally.
100%. So the biggest thing is you are selling a lifestyle. So remember, like, yes, your product is hopefully helping them achieve that lifestyle. But as far as selling them on that, like, you can, you're 20 feet from the product, back it up to 100 feet from the product, look at a grander scheme of things. What does their life look like outside of your product? Because still, if they're desiring that lifestyle and you can have a touch point with them on, okay, so it's a mom who likes eco-friendly cleaning products. Well, mom does a whole lot more than clean her house 24/7. I mean, she does do a lot of that, but like, she has so much more than that. You know what I mean? So much more. Well, like, what does she do in her spare time when she's not cleaning her house? What does she do with her kids for fun? Rather than scrubbing the toilet that they peed all over or whatever, like, back that up, and there's so much more content that you can produce that is still reaching that client. And it gives you the variety of, like, hey, I'm not just trying to think of 30 different ways in a month to take a picture of my product. We work with a lot of brands, but like, one of the brands we work with is a feminine, like, products brand. So they sell like period cups and teas and all different kinds of stuff like that. Well, again, people only want to see so many pictures of that stuff on their Instagram feed. So we portray a healthy, happy woman lifestyle. So, sometimes that's us having a model make a chai tea latte and we're taking pictures of that. Or it's like models in the kitchen cutting up some healthy veggies, or it's a model walking through a field and spinning around with a smile on her face. All those things, and that's content for their feed. That's something that's relating, to their ideal client, but isn't like, here's my product again, just in case you forgot what it looks like. Here's my product again. Here's my product again.
I love that. Yeah. And guys, a quick reminder, if you need to know, because it ties very neatly into the training that I did about how to build your tribe. And really what you want to think about is, what is this common purpose that you're rallying your tribe around? And it dovetails right into that lifestyle and thinking about it in their context. So go watch that training. That was another Tuning Tuesday. You can find it in the guide section of this group, because I think that will hopefully help you spark this, that thought of, okay, what is your customer actually doing? What are they caring about? And then, okay, that will just open up the world for you around what content, both from a photography perspective, but also from a caption perspective, that you can actually start creating. So I love that. Okay, we are running out of time. So I have one more quick bonus question for you, which from Fernanda, and I think she's on. So do you have any tips for people who have like shiny or reflective products? So Fernanda does gold jewelry, and how they might be able to take photos without the camera actually being reflected on the product itself.
So first off, Fernanda, I'm so sorry. They are a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. They're a struggle. So my tips would be, first off, you literally have to like move around to every possible angle, because there probably is an angle that you won't see a reflection. But if you're like, hey, I need straight on, I'm going to be flat out honest. If you need straight on like product photos, you're probably going to have to hire someone, and not me. That's how much I don't like that. Like, it's for real a struggle. The people who are shooting those are literally shooting them like, you could actually, honestly, if that's the type of, I don't know what type of photos you're looking for, but you could attempt them yourself. You can actually go on Amazon and get, again, softbox, lightbox. This is where I have this info to you, and you can post it for them. But basically, they make these little boxes that are literally like, there's a light in the box, and it's like a white. I say box, but it's like flimsy, like fabric kind of thing. But they make ones that literally just have like a camera hole in them. But you're still like, ultimately, like if you're talking full, gold jewelry, I jokingly said to her before we hopped on, like, Photoshop afterwards. But that is why those photographers who take like those types of listing photos charge a lot of money, because there's like meticulous, possibly hours of editing those things out. But if you're talking like lifestyle images of those, just, get the camera looking through and move around from every single angle. And there most likely will be an angle where you're not getting yourself. My other tip is wear white. My husband jokingly is like, my favorite color is pink. And I told him to please stop buying me pink things for my wardrobe, because any other color other like this, I'm neutral 90% of the time. But that's because if I have a blue sweatshirt on or a pink sweatshirt on, when you go to shoot that jewelry, there's going to be a hue of that on the jewelry. If there's any type of like natural light coming in, reflecting, it will be there. So neutral clothing, go around, find those, and you can build kind of like barricades. Again, maybe I'll try to see if I have a behind the scenes photo, but I'm not sure. Or if you go on my Instagram, there might be one. But I shot some reflective bottles for a company recently. And I literally had this set up, and then I had white curtains along the sides and white curtains along the front. And I literally like peeked my camera through the white curtains. And I still had to edit some later. But that takes a lot of it off, so your one edit later is one tiny little spot versus like having to completely change, something. The biggest thing is take a deep breath before you start, because otherwise you'll start panicking before you even start. And take the time to look through the lens, move around, look through your viewfinder, move around, make sure that it's the least amount of reflection as possible, where you're shooting from, and create those spaces if you need to. Again, you could use like white poster board and have poster board, on the sides, and just have a small sliver that you're shooting through. Or again, if you're shooting from above, you could have poster boards all around, except for maybe on one side, because you got to let the light in somewhere. Unless it's coming from above. So just kind of the most white you can have reflecting back on that product is going to eliminate as much as you can.
Awesome. That's awesome. So Layla said, I've seen photographers shoot from far, but they have a good lens that can shoot a close up from far. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so those are called macro lenses. So like I have 100 millimeter one so I can, be decently far back from a tiny earring and still look like I'm up.
So with that said, comment below and tell me, where can you go to find these little pieces of inspiration for your own photography? And now you know exactly how to find that inspo for your photography, for your product photography. How cool is that? And if you want to take what you've just learned to the next level, then come and join this free community of amazing entrepreneurs just like you, growing their own e-commerce businesses. I share live training every week, and we also do live Instagram and website audits every week. It's so cool. So check out this video next on creating an Instagram feed that sells, and then this one on how to plan your social media quickly and easily. And if you like this video, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe and share it with all of your friends, and I'll see you on the next video.